Welcome, Redmond radio listeners. It's a wonderful uh, Redmond day. It's currently
Redmond in Redmond.
another day in Redmond. It's July 18th. Today's I want to say Saturday, right? Yeah,
Doesn't
Saturday.
really matter.
Doesn't really matter. It's every day is it's the same because I don't know what day of the week it
Yeah.
is. I
It's
don't remember.
quarantine.
It's quarantine. Yeah.
Time is literally done
It's
forever.
blurring. It does not exist. Time
It
does
really
not
is.
exist. Yeah. It's a very sunny
Yeah.
day.
Rip
Um,
time.
how about you, Jesse? Is it sunny over in Redmond?
Yes. Is it sunny on your side, Redmond?
Yeah, on my side of Redmond, it's pretty sunny. Yeah. There's
Yeah.
no clouds in the sky. Do you have any
Pretty
clouds
cool.
in the sky?
We've got zero clouds, which is kind of
Wow.
concerning.
GG's. Okay. Um, Jesse, do you want to give us a little bit of info on yourself?
Yeah. So, my name's Jesse. I normally write the scripts and stuff for episodes, but today I'm gonna be interviewed. I'm a first generation African American. My family moved here from Ghana, and I was born here. And I'm gonna be answering a couple questions. So, yeah.
Wow. I didn't know. Is it? Wait, I didn't know. So people that are interviewed answered questions?
Yes, apparently. I just found this out. It's actually kind of new thing I'm trying to start for
Yeah.
the interviewer.
Well, let's dive right on into it. Jesse, what does Black Lives Matter mean to you?
So, to me, what Black Lives Matter means is it's like realizing that we live in a country where our legal system undermines the lives of African Americans and people of color. That in order for us to make progress as a country, as a society, we have to recognize this and make some substantial change to the system. I feel like what the movement has done so far, the Black Lives Matter movement, is has put names to faces of families and of people who've been affected by the criminal justice system that we have in place here in America today. And normally this stuff would have been like pushed under a rug and not thought of at all. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's kind of what it means to me.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Okay, I want to try to go from from like silly to like a little bit more serious.
Like
Um
serious mode on.
Serious mode on. Okay. So what is it like growing up from direct African descent, since your parents are from Ghana? And do you think it affects your relationship with Black culture and America as a whole?
I would say it kind of does because since my parents could only fill me in on the culture they had back in Africa, in Ghana, I'm in sort of like a cultural limbo where I know a little bit about where my parents come from, a bit about where I'm from, where I have to learn all by myself. So my
Mm-hmm.
parents like filling me in on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, since they haven't lived here, you don't know like the nuances of our culture,
Mm-hmm.
what really happens.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a relationship with Black culture as a whole has been a bit different than most African Americans. Because I
Mm-hmm.
don't really have someone I can like go to, like talk about that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the stuff I have to like read it up on my own and stuff.
Is there
Also
like
like a
yeah, oh no, you go, you go.
yeah. So like even my parents, racism was isn't like a thing they considered till they moved here. Like in Ghana, since everyone's kind of the same color, we don't really have racism. We do have tribalism though, where tribes believe they're better than other tribes.
Mm-hmm.
Though they don't really follow that system anymore. So that was also a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Bit of a cultural shock we had.
Mm. Is there like
Yeah.
a Black culture website that you read on?
Not like a specific one.
Uh,
There's the Black Lives Matter website
mm.
stuff, but I don't really have a specific place I go to if I have back questions. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
Well, that's what
So
we need.
yeah, we definitely need like culture websites for specific people. Like, I mean, I don't know anything about like the culture of Mexicans here, like Mexican Americans. Like, I know a lot about Mexico, like the culture of Mexico, right? A little bit of Mexico and a little bit of like America here, but I don't know about like Mexican Americans that much. And it's like,
Yeah,
bruh, yeah.
like cultural limbo.
Cultural limbo. Let's go, boys.
Is
So growing up in Chicago, was life different for as an African American over there than it is in Seattle?
I would say that African American culture is a lot more prominent in Chicago. There's a higher population of African Americans living there. And um, what else? Oh wait, I just lost my train of thought. So since like they kind of make a bigger population percentage there, like more, it's more like the forefront of people's minds. It's like
Mm-hmm.
people think about more, like until that school's a bit more shifted to accommodate for that,
Mm-hmm.
compared to here in Seattle, where since it's a small African American population, it's not as accommodating towards
Mm-hmm.
that or towards the culture.
Mm-hmm. Do you think like do you think in Seattle it's easier to blend in with other cultures like um I guess I would say like merge like taking inspiration from other culture groups present here than it was to find someone who was African American, if that makes sense.
I would say that because I feel like here in Seattle, a lot of people are more like into their cultures that they come from, like their foreign cultures. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like a culture that my parents have taught me just complement those quite a bit. Like even like food and stuff is very
Mm-hmm.
similar.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like nice to have like a middle ground. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Jesse, let's see. Have you ever been discriminated against, or do you believe you have?
Uh, I can I for one can't say that I've been too badly discriminated against. Once in a while, someone will like make an assumption, stereotypical assumption, or like they'll cross the street when they see me coming.
Mm-hmm.
Besides that, not really. Actually, there's one like I have those more because I moved here to Seattle.
Uh-huh.
We were driving to school. My mom got pulled over.
Oh,
The the police officer said that she didn't have a seatbelt on, though we could visibly see she had a seatbelt on.
uh-huh.
And what he said was that here you click it or you get a ticket.
Uh-huh.
Since my mom has a pretty thick accent, I'm guessing that's some.
Um,
So eventually, my
oh, I
mom took it
see.
to court, and he got fired. Yeah. But besides that, I guess there hasn't really been anything that big happening
Mm,
to me.
I see. Let's see. What does defund the police mean to you, and what's a possible way we could achieve this goal?
So what I feel like defunding the police means is realizing that the system doesn't work, that there's a lot of money we're putting into it that could go towards other things that help humans, like people live better lives. Like in America alone, we spend $100 billion yearly on policing and another 80 billion on criminal reform and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And if only 5% of the police funding was moved to, say, public health budget, that budget would have been doubled. Just shows how much we're putting into policing, which doesn't seem to be
Mm,
working. Some money is taken away from policing, is put into things like education, health, and housing. You can see
mm-hmm.
like a financial change in crime rates, whatnot.
Mm. Yeah, so what you're suggesting is that if people have more access to better education, uh they're more likely to get a better job. If they have affordable housing, they can uh start paying for they won't have to worry about rent that much, and they can start putting food on the table and all that, right?
Exactly.
Okay. And going again with the question, what do you think is a possible way we could achieve the goal?
So I believe our government should do is take some of the funding from policing, put towards things that directly help people have a higher standard of living, like housing and health and education.
Mm,
Because I feel like some people believe that policing could help, but at this point we can see that it hasn't been helping over the past couple years,
hmm
especially with the rise in crime. So just investing in human-centered expenses would be a really big change.
hmm
And lowering the amount of policing um in colored neighborhoods could also help.
hmm and adding on to yours is that there's the thing that police always deal with people with mental health issues. So when people call 911 and they report that someone is having like a mental breakdown and stuff, police are always the first to react, which wouldn't make sense because why should armed police
Exactly.
uh, re- uh, talk to people with mental health issues? Like if for some reason like the person lashes out, the police would rely on their instinctual training because like they're taught when they're police, they're taught that
Yeah,
anyone could kill them, and they have to always be on their guards. So doesn't make
exactly.
sense to have an armed police reacting to someone who is having a mental issue, and it would make more sense to have like a psychiatrist or a social worker that could help them calm down. And the same goes with homelessness. It doesn't make sense for armed police to deal with homelessness if all they're going to do is just move them somewhere else. Like we
Yeah,
should be investing in that money into some affordable
like
housing or have some I don't, like there was this article or something like that in California some dude made tiny houses for the homeless to live in. We could invest in that. Like it's not
yeah,
a long-term solution, but it's better than the alternative.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, do you think people are restricting protests too much? Like, I know like people constantly were like, constantly told Martin Luther King that that their peaceful protest was like, it was like violent and all that, right? Even though it was peaceful, like we have violent protests, and even though we're getting the message out, people are saying, "Oh no,
Yeah,
they're going to destroy like the business. They're going to destroy the stores of multi-billion dollar businesses and all that, right? If we
yeah.
do it in the tweets, like if we tweet it out, if we do it on social media, people go like, "Bro, why are you doing that? That's kind of cringy, bro." Like they won't pay attention, right? And if
Yeah.
rich people do it, then people immediately get call them out for that because they're like, "Oh, you're rich. Why are you calling out the
Like they're
police,
benefiting from
bro?"
it.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
they call I remember I don't remember who it was, but there was a black athlete who spoke out about police reform, and then I want to say it
Yeah,
was like
yeah,
a senator or something like that who called him ungrateful. I don't remember,
yeah.
but it happened like 2 years ago, and it was really wacky.
I
But continuing with the question, do you think people are restricting the protest too much?
so I feel like there's been a lot of discourse between like local governments and federal governments on how to handle the protests. Has been causing a lot of problems with it. And if could just agree on that, the party could help with it. I know that we're going through a pandemic, which is brings some concern about the large grouping. I feel like the message
Hmm
they're trying to portray at this point is really important for them to go through, especially when you look at the way that all the governments are trying to combat it the same way that they're protesting against.
hmm
Just shows how unlike concerned the system is towards just things like this. You've heard about Portland. As you've probably heard about the federal government dropping officers in Portland against mayor's wishes
Mhm.
and grabbing protesters off the streets and stuff, right?
Mhm.
Like, that alone shows how divided we are on this issue and
Mhm.
how to solve it, which just
Mhm.
shows some people have some ulterior motives they're not really going to go into. Like, most of the people out here, besides there are very few who are eliciting immediate violence, so the
Mhm.
protests do fall under First Amendment rights and are
Mhm.
protected as long as they're not causing immediate violence, which is why I feel like a lot of them which are being called dangerous aren't actually as dangerous as people are making them seem. We've seen a lot of cases of policemen also raiding and breaking buildings and doing stuff like that,
Mhm.
which just shows a lot of like a lack of restraint by
Mhm.
our policemen.
Mhm. Do you think
Yeah.
the fact that police are lashing out at protesters in full riot gear, right? Like they're throwing what was it?
Tear gas?
Tear gas, yeah. Tear gas, they're using hoses and all that. They're in full riot gear against a bunch of protesters who like to be honest, they're not doing that much. Do you think that kind of shows how
Most of
broken
them
our
are even
system
armed.
is?
It really does. Like earlier this year, there was protests over the quarantine, and people were walking around with AK-47s and with guns like on their hands, and you didn't see any of that happening there.
Hmm.
But we have these people here who are just protesting unarmed, being attacked. It's just really sad to see.
Hmm. I kind of like to think about the Black Panther movement and how they were peaceful protesting with armed weapons, right? And
Yeah,
like they only did that as as a way to intimidate the Californian government into actually thinking about civil rights. But
yeah,
and the funny thing is that the government ended up disassembling, I guess, destroying the Black Panther movement, right? Even though they were peacefully
yeah.
protesting with weapons, whereas the people protesting quarantine, you could say they're peacefully protesting with weapons as well, but they're not. They're not the their loose organization isn't being destroyed. You know.
Same dire need for a
Yeah,
protest
it's
isn't
kind of
there?
ironic,
Yeah,
like even though
like
they're not even though the quarantine protesters aren't connected, even though like there are plenty of like theories on that, um, they're
yeah,
not. None. The government isn't telling them, "Yo, you got to stop protesting and all that," right? It feels kind of
yeah.
hypocritical in that sense.
Really does. Yeah,
Mm. Let's see. Do
yeah.
you And I guess I should have started with this question because that would have made the most sense. But do you think America has a serious policing problem, or do you think it's overblown?
I, for one, believe we do have policing problem, or like more ways than one. Like even this, um, sorry, start. So I do believe there's a policing problem because every day you see that there's people who are being unlawfully arrested, and just because they can't pay bail, they have to go and do time, which leads to a lot of unrest.
Hmm.
And then these people who were innocent to begin with become hardened afterwards, which can lead to actual crimes.
Hmm.
And especially with even the 13th Amendment states that neither slavery nor voluntary servitude, except as punishment for a crime,
Hmm.
just allows slavery to exist as a punishment for
Hmm.
crimes. Shows that there's someone who's profiting off people doing this, off just people getting arrested,
Hmm.
which definitely doesn't speak well of us.
Hmm.
Despite making up a small percentage of the Earth's population, we make up one fourth of all criminals and convicts.
Hmm.
Of the mass incarceration we do.
Hmm. You know,
So yeah, I feel like there
13%.
definitely is a policing problem. Yep,
Bro,
2%
I'm sorry, that was a bro moment.
was a big bro moment though.
Bro.
Allow it.
I assumed I think I destroyed your train of thought, didn't I?
You kind of did.
Ugh, shame. I'm
No,
sorry,
no
bro.
worries. No
Okay.
worries. No.
Okay. Uh. Okay. Do you think you still have something to say? I accident. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Uh, on policing, right?
Yeah, policing.
Also, in like the policing system where they have to fill quotas about like how many tickets they have to give
Right. Yeah. 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 I remember that.
like each week. That's just not. You shouldn't. Decision that's supposed to make people better people shouldn't say that this many people must be or more many people must be a crime each week or else you're not doing your job. That just
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense to me.
Like I can kind of get why they would put that in place, like to make sure the officers are doing their job, but at the same time, it puts this unrealistic expectation that people must be committing crime 24/7, and then the officers can then
Yeah.
dehumanize people, right? Because they have to fill the quotas, like, and then you get the arguments of like, oh well, the officers were just doing their jobs. Like, yeah, they pulled you over because they have to fill the quotas, not because you're black. But like,
No,
no, but it's really not that. It's
they
because you're
target
black.
people who they believe.
It's not just because it's a quota to fill.
Yeah.
It's like it shouldn't get to that level, right? Like policing is to
Yeah.
prevent crime. It's to stop and prevent crime. It's not to make money off of it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not. I mean, you're not making money directly from it, but like, do you get what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's you shouldn't be.
Indirectly, you are profiting off people's
Yeah,
crimes
yeah, that's that. Yeah, basically that.
and
And
just the amount of people in jails.
mhm,
Also, privatizing the jail systems. It's terrible. I don't.
yeah,
Some things like jails should not be privatized because then it's like a
yeah,
business where they're trying to get in as much money as possible, incarcerating as much
mhm.
people as possible. Which just isn't shouldn't be done.
I mean, like the fact that we have privatized jail just shows how like not how far we've come, but like how messed up our society has
How far we've
how
come.
messed up our society has become because jail, like you said, jail
Yeah,
shouldn't be
exactly.
privatized. It should like privatization should only be made. A business should only be privatized if it's in an effort to produce more money. Like it makes sense why you would privatize
Exactly.
a business, but not jail. That you shouldn't privatize something that we use to keep people in order. You know, like that sounds
Yeah.
bad, but like it,
There definitely shouldn't be someone profiting off how many people are in jail. That just
yeah.
creates
It's the same with the detention camps
it
for
just doesn't
illegal
create a good
immigrants.
system.
Like, uh, they're private businesses who own the camps where illegal immigrants live. The conditions aren't good, and then they make a really quick buck off of them. Like, what?
Yeah.
How could you be
Basically concentration
How?
camps.
Yeah, like how can you sleep at night knowing that you're profit? I can't even speak. Profiting off of
Profiting.
human lives, off of human suffering, right? Like it's
It's just
despicable to know that people will do anything to make those fat bucks, right?
you know that hustle. You know,
Yeah.
you gotta
See,
kill a
cause
few hundred people in the process in their
yeah.
lives.
So, what are some of the things that people don't consider when looking at black statistics, right? Like,
We're
what?
talking about the 1350. Yeah. So I feel like one big thing people don't realize is that 45% of young black children under the age of 6 are in poverty. 45%, which is almost half,
Hmm.
which is a lot larger compared to other races.
Hmm.
That 27% of African Americans are in poverty, just the
Hmm.
highest in America. And since we know that police are more prominent in impoverished places more likely to get arrested there, seen
Hmm.
doing stuff that might be um, illegal. Like more, almost half of the children in a race are in poverty. It's easy to see why a lot of people would move to steal food for the
Hmm.
kids or something.
Yeah.
And since they're so heavily policed there, people will probably be punished severely.
Hmm.
Also, in our system of mass incarceration, you have to buy bail to get out of jail.
Hmm.
These people probably wouldn't be able to pay either and just be stuck in jail for years for a
Hmm.
small crime. And on top of that, because of the 13th Amendment, there's companies who will be able to make money off slave labor, off those communities, just systematically taking them to jail, having to serve upwards to 6 years for small crimes, just having them work for their companies,
Hmm.
do stuff like that, which is
Hmm.
really sad to think about. A lot of the times, sometimes they can even get charged for crimes that they didn't commit. But because of the way our system's based, makes it that if you fight back, you can even serve longer time than if you just accept the time you're given. Just what a lot of these
Hmm.
people are left to do because they have no other choice.
Hmm.
There's this documentary on Netflix. It's called The 13th. It goes into some depth on that topic. The 13%, 50% statistic. I feel like it touches on a lot of important stuff we don't realize.
Yeah, like despite being a meme, like the 1350%, it still it kind of just shows how broken our system is. Like again, it kind of just shows that we when we look at statistics, we don't look at the full picture, right? Like statistics are really
Yeah,
good for seeing data, for like looking at graphs, right? For seeing trends in data, but
yeah.
you never see the full picture
It can be,
in any form of statistics. That's kind of why that's why
yeah,
I think they're kind of flawed in a sense, because you don't see what causes African American families to be in poverty, what causes African Americans to go to crime, right? Like it doesn't show the full spectrum of what leads up to that statistic.
it would be like saying that since less people are killed by coyotes every year than by cows, and cows should be outlawed and we shouldn't breed cows. The reason for that
Yeah,
is because people work with cows every day than people who work with coyotes.
yeah. Like statistics are real can lie to us really easily. It's kind
Yeah,
of impressive how much we rely on them, and we how much we don't look at the full picture some of the times.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard the statistic that people who have dogs live longer.
Hmm.
It's another like example of a statistic being misleading. For the most part, if someone's able to have a pet because they're able to afford, they're doing pretty well for themselves and they're able to afford health insurance,
Mm.
which helps them live longer. Like even stuff like that can be really misleading.
Yeah, I see.
Can lead to hasty conclusions.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, because I if I heard that statistic sooner, I'd be like, wait, I can live longer if I have a dog. Yo, I'm gonna get a dog. But like it
I'm
does
gonna
make
get a
sense.
funny yellow dog.
Yeah, funny yellow dog,
Yeah,
wacky and uncharacteristic yellow dog. But
yeah,
it makes sense though.
it's,
Like you wouldn't be able to afford like caring for a dog if you couldn't care for yourself first. And if you can care for a dog, that means you're better off than a large percentage of the population. Meaning like you have more access to stuff, right? So
yeah,
yeah, so like it makes
yeah.
sense, and the relationship just is overlooked sometimes. Yeah. If we had the budget to do reparations, should we do it, and why should we do it? Like, that sounds bad, but like, generations have passed, right? Like, why should we do it now when we should have done it like a while ago?
Yeah. So I feel like definitely should do reparations for ancestors of slaves. Because then one of the reasons why America has ever able to become such a big populous country is because of the work of these slaves, them
Mm-hmm.
being the foundation of our country.
Mm-hmm.
They brought in so much worth that actually put pictures of slaves and slave workers on our money. So I feel like even after the 13th Amendment, Juneteenth, all these
Mm-hmm.
people weren't able to build up wealth. Like they couldn't buy land, couldn't like get good housing because of their skin color.
Mm-hmm.
Like even when they were able to buy land, that part of land or that housing lower in value just because they're black.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's where the phrase "there goes the neighborhood" comes from. Even it's like
Wait, what
I
phrase?
believe that since the phrase "there goes the neighborhood," like
Uh,
when a black family moves into a neighborhood, and you're like, "Oh, there goes the neighborhood,"
right, because
you
there's
know,
all
haha,
because there's those things where
80s
people are,
humor.
where people are like, oh yeah, black families reduce the value of homes and all that, and it's
Yeah,
it's ridiculous how people view that, right? Oh yeah,
yeah,
a black family moved in next doors. Well, now our house is 50 million dollars less. Wow, that's a shame. But yeah,
there goes the neighborhood.
there goes the
That's probably a
neighborhood.
sitcom somewhere. Very,
Thank you, Jesse, for
that's how
informing
blackface
me
was
on
created.
that.
All right. Anyways, so yeah, I definitely believe there should be reparations for the ancestors of slaves. That
Hmm.
if they weren't able to build up wealth, families weren't able to build up wealth. Definitely would help
Hmm.
level the playing field. Fix
Yeah.
like the imbalance of poverty in black neighborhoods and stuff. Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, and I agree with that. Like, because when you look at it, you don't look at the long-term effects of slavery, right? People weren't allowed to build up credit.
yeah,
They weren't allowed to own land and all that. Even into the spilling into the Jim Crow era and the early 1900s, right? Like, black people were still
yeah.
discriminated against. They had to live in poorer areas. They couldn't live in, uh, even if they
Slums.
had the money, they weren't allowed to live in uh, richer neighborhoods, right? Like all of that
We
contributed
weren't even allowed
to
to.
the level of poverty we see nowadays. Like it's
Exactly.
really the
We weren't
fault
even
of
like.
all the discrimination. And if we had reparations, we could start fixing some of these issues.
Yeah, exactly. Like
I'm
even at the
sorry I
time, we weren't
interrupted
even
you.
allowed to own like instruments. No, it's fine, Gabe. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Anyways, we weren't even like allowed to. African Americans weren't even allowed to own instruments for the longest time, which led to even the creation of tap dancing, which pretty interesting. Fun fact: because
Oh,
black people
thank
weren't
you.
allowed to use instruments, they created tap dancing.
Bro, like at this point, black people literally invented all of American culture. Like
Yeah. You got
they invented
jazz.
jazz, they invented rap, they invented trap, they invented tap dancing. Like they invented rock and roll, they
Yeah,
invented blues, etc. They influenced a lot of pop music. They created funk music. Like at it
exactly.
from a musical point perspective, it feels wrong to undervalue the hard work that African Americans have done because most musical
Yeah,
genres were either created or largely influenced by the African American community.
exactly. Yeah,
Like it's criminal. It's literally criminal not to recognize the efforts that African Americans have put into our culture and our music. And as like someone who really enjoys jazz, I'm
yeah,
like very thankful because if we did if jazz never existed, then your boy wouldn't be playing guitar.
um,
So thank you,
and no,
Jesse.
you're,
Jesse, I thank your
you're
ancestors.
welcome.
Let's
God,
go. Let's go.
thank
Hey.
you.
Okay. I feel like we went we
Right,
went very off topic there, didn't we?
you kind of did, but that
Yeah.
does lead into a question about rap,
Mm. Yes.
its importance.
Yes, that's a very important question. So, um, do you
Yes.
think rap will ever become socially accepted, kind of like jazz? So, in the musical community,
So
jazz is basically revered because of how complex it is. So, do you think rap will become as revered as jazz is? Because if you think about it, rap is kind of like vocal jazz, since you're using
yeah,
really
that's true.
complex rhythms, you're using complex words and phrasings and all that.
Yeah, I do believe in a couple decades or even like a century, rap could become as popular as jazz. I mean, even if you look back a couple years, jazz was seen as kind of like a ghetto ghetto music.
Hmm.
Nowadays, it's revered and stuff. I feel like this could also be important because like even throughout the history of black rights movement, music has always been a big part of how we've expressed our disdain and how hard our culture is
Hmm.
and the hardships we go through every day.
Yeah.
Like if you look back at like Biggie's songs, never seems to idolize the life he once had, where he had to sell drugs and stuff,
Hmm.
live on the streets.
Yeah.
I feel like that might be something we're losing nowadays with modern rap.
Yeah. it's not about
Often nowadays
it's not
they're
about the struggle, it's about
idolizing
the
crime.
top, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. So I feel like nowadays rap has become more of flexing and like idolizing a life of crime more than
Hmm.
just talking about hardships they go through.
Yeah.
It's as if it's a bird stuck in a cage, like its wings are clipped, its feet are tied. So it
Yeah.
just sings about tough life it's having. When the people hear it, they just sing back, thinking it's just like a nice tune.
Uh-huh.
You know? So I feel like that's the hard part, making people realize that just because they're singing doesn't mean they're happy, that they're
Hmm.
content. The system that we have in place is a big thing
Hmm.
that I feel like rap has brought since when it's just spoken out loud. I feel like yeah,
Yeah. And that's kind of like why I like Tupac and Biggie and all the old school rap, old school rap people. Like they felt like more genuine.
yeah,
Like they actually like they rapped about like the issues with police. They rapped about the issues of drugs on the community. They talked about how the government was corrupt, right? Like they talked about
exactly.
stuff that normal musicians wouldn't want to talk about. They
Haven't even
would be
thought
too
about
scared, or
yeah,
they didn't understand the struggle, right? And like old school gangster
yeah,
rap really like gave people a voice, like
did
it really did feel like the voice was given. And I feel like
yeah.
some people pervert that in a way, like they go like, oh well, he's singing about crime, well he must be a criminal,
Means crime's
like
good, you know? Yeah,
yeah, like they're not saying that crime is good, they're saying like that they grew up with a tough life and they had to evolve and adapt to that life of crime, but they still like made it up to the
yeah.
top.
Like that would be saying like the book The Boy in the Striped Pajamas is glorifying fascism and Nazis and the Holocaust.
Wait,
But just because
what?
they're talking about a hard time doesn't mean they're.
The Boy in
You never
Striped
read The Boy in
Pajamas?
Striped Pajamas?
No, I've never read. No, I don't know a lot about American culture, my man, or whatever that
So
classifies under.
I think that's an American classic now. As
Okay.
you have no idea when it was written.
Okay.
it basically talked about it's like from the perspective of like a kid growing up in Nazi Germany. His father was like the kid's very naive, doesn't know what's happening.
Hmm.
And one thing leads to another, he becomes gassed,
Yeah.
trying to help this kid.
Oh, I
So
see.
I feel like that would be it's just yeah. So that would
Mm.
be like people saying, instead of looking at the book saying, "Oh, what these people are going through is so hard. We must stop this." Be like saying, "No, they're glorifying
Yeah.
Nazism and fascism." That's why I feel like people are saying that. Like if you look, even with rap, it's a lot less censored than jazz and blues were. The problems they're talking about, they aren't really sugar coated as much, which is why I feel like a lot of I end like the upper class doesn't really see it as a message as
Hmm.
much as most people would. 'Cause instead of like dancing around what they want to say, they're just flat out saying it, what they're
Hmm.
going through, which
Yeah.
can be a bit off-putting for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's see what else. Uh, that was a very good conversation on rap. I'll admit.
Was it was pretty good.
That was pretty good. Um, let's
And
see.
for the people out there who didn't know, now you know.
Yeah. Jesse, now you have to answer the time-old question. The question that every person of color must answer.
Yes.
Tupac or Biggie?
Let's hear it. Now, I don't want to put we're both literal gods in the genre, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna have to side with Iggy on this one.
Hey, let's go, Biggie gang.
Yeah.
Hey, Biggie Smalls. I kind of like how his name is a
The
is
boy
a
Smalls.
oxymoron, right? Biggie
Yeah.
Smalls. I kind of like that. I don't know why. Hey,
It's great.
would you like to
I think
explain
that's
your
his
reasoning?
actual legal name too. Yeah. I don't think I've ever heard like a bad Iggy song. Like I've never heard a bad Tupac song, but when I first started listening to Tupac, it took a while for me to get into it.
Hmm.
You know? I
Hmm.
like Biggie. You just can't beat Biggie.
Hmm. I agree with
'Cause I
that.
feel like he does.
I yeah, yeah, keep going, keep going.
Uh, bruh, I forgot my thought.
Bro.
Uh, no, you go. Actually, I
Okay,
can't remember.
I'm not gonna remember either. Okay, um, I feel like Tupac is more of like a poetic rapper, right? Like if you look, I'm not giving any diss to Biggie, but like Tupac was more of
Yeah,
a poetic rapper. He you could in if you look at the rhyme scheme, you could see a lot of alliteration, a lot of poetic uh a lot of poetic
yeah,
terms and all that in his music.
yeah.
Whereas
A lot of good
Biggie,
figurative speech.
yeah, a lot of good figurative speech. Whereas Biggie, I'm not saying he didn't use poetic devices, but he was more of a rhymer, right? And having a really nice beat than having a lot of poetic devices, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, I'll so I like I want to say that yeah, yeah, I'll agree with you because Biggie had the better beat and had the better beat and had like the cooler sounding stuff, but Tupac had deeper stuff, you know?
that's true. Yeah, in a
Like
couple of
had
decades, when
yeah,
rap becomes like jazz, I feel
uh-huh.
like a lot of people are gonna be looking at Tupac more than you're gonna be looking at Biggs.
Yeah.
It has more of a structure,
Mhm.
or to like a even though jazz is structureless in a way, still some form of structure. When you look at the people in our past who sang jazz with structure,
Hmm.
I feel like that's gonna be a two-pack in the future.
Yeah.
Studying it in music honors.
Yeah. Bro, that'd be dope. Like AP music theory, right? And then you're just like listening
Yeah.
to Tupac. Like and then they're
Now,
like,
what
"Oh
did
yeah,
you think Tupac meant when he said?
yeah." And then like in music theory, there'll be like, "Oh yeah, so in rap, there's a bunch of like and then there's just like 20 different words for to explain a simple concept in rap." Like I don't like it's gonna become jazz.
Yeah.
I can promise you that. Like rap is definitely gonna become jazz because of how complex it is.
Watch me listening to this smooth rap. Yeah.
Bruh.
Yeah, like nightclubs.
What I do like is rap jazz. Like I don't know why, but
Oh yeah,
rap jazz, like
it's a bop.
it's called
Classy.
tradition. Yeah, it's called traditional music or something like that. It's like a traditional genre or something like that. I don't remember what it's called, but because it combines music made by African Americans. So I know it's
Oh yeah.
either called like the traditional genre or or the I
Like
no
type the call and response.
yeah, like there's a name for the genre for jazz rap because uh it combines a bunch of elements that African Americans have engineered in music, you know? But yeah, no, like
Kind of the category
jazz rap is bona fide, 10 out of 10.
of stuff.
Yeah,
That kind of reminds me of this concept. So you guys know that my family is from Ghana, right?
yeah.
So more specifically, my parents, their ancestors were part of the Akan tribe.
Hmm.
There's this concept, this idea we have here. It's called it's known as Sankofa, which means go back and get it. So it's represented by a picture of a bird putting an egg on its back.
Hmm.
Basically, what it means is that we take the good from our past, mix it with the good from our present.
Mm.
I feel like that's kind of what that kind of represents a lot of the African genres we've created here.
Hmm.
So, like how they're a mixture of what we've done in the past,
Hmm.
what's happening now,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool.
Hmm.
If you look at call response, pretty similar to rap and even jazz,
Hmm.
the ad-libbing and stuff. So I feel like it's really similar to the call response
Uh-huh.
slaves used to do during slave work, rap, and also just jazz and blues and the ad-libbing part of it.
Mm.
Just pretty similar. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, props to the African Americans who pioneered rap and jazz. Thank you. Very cool. I appreciate your hard
Yep.
work. Thank and once again, Jesse, I thank your ancestors.
I'll tell them. No.
Wait. Okay. Wait. Can you give me a Wakanda pass real quick?
Yes.
Okay.
May have a
So
Wakanda pass.
thank you. So you should do it like in Black Panther, where the guy can talk to his
Exactly. That's what I was
ancestors.
thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
We got the sand bath
Yeah, the sand bath or whatever it was.
in our basement, the
Let's
those
go.
hard flower things.
Hmm.
So
To be honest, it kind
it's
of
pretty
looked like
great.
he was tripping. It looked more like he was tripping than he was talking to his
He probably was
ancestors.
tripping.
Yeah.
Yo, those flowers.
What were in those flowers, bro?
That's it, man. Ugh, that
Epic.
you know, it was drugs. Definitely
Yeah,
some type of psychedelic in that movie.
obviously, we all know that. And
The more you know.
the more you know.
Black Panther was
Okay, Jesse.
definitely high.
Final
Black Panther
question.
more like crack panther, am I right? Like
No, please don't. Why?
crack panther.
Bro. Okay, Jesse,
Yep.
final question before I leave you. Um, let's see. What should the final question be? Where's Wakanda?
Uh, it's Wakanda.
And where's Wakanda?
It is inside all of us. You know, Detroit.
Is it inside our hearts, Jesse?
Yes, it is inside our hearts. Deep inside our
Let's
hearts.
go. Thank you, Wakanda. Very cool.
Yes. We are all part of Wakanda. We are Wakanda, and Wakanda is we.
Thank you, Jesse. That
Yes.
that those are very inspiring words. Said only by the
Sage
most
words of advice.
inspiring of inspirers.
Yeah.
Thank you,
In
Jesse.
the Black Panther movie,
Uh-huh.
they actually reference the Akan tribe, which was
Wait, really?
pretty cool. Like, you remember that mask that guy was wearing? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Mask the guy was wearing. Do you remember that? One of
Uh-huh.
the yeah. So he mentions that it's from the Akan tribe, which was like when I first
Oh.
saw the movie, I was like, hell yeah! I mean, the
Jesse
masks he
got it.
shows actually isn't. Got
Wait, really?
referenced in Black Panther.
Ah.
Yes, me specifically.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, Jesse Judah Brum from 15 years old in
Let's
Redmond, Washington,
go.
watching this at 1:04 hours. Yes.
Let's
So I am
go.
confirmed to be in the MC universe.
Jesse is can we get
I'm gonna become
whoever, I forgot the names of them, of the directors spoke. Can we get the Russo brothers? Dear Russo brothers, can we get Jesse and the MCU? Thank you very much.
yes.
Yes, let's
Were the
go.
Russell brothers those people in that one sitcom?
No idea. I don't remember.
Or
I
not?
haven't been reading a bunch of news lately, so no, I have no idea. Okay, thank you, Jesse. Very cool. Thank you for your time in in helping us understand stuff and for talking about uh black culture and all that. So I mean that's
Yes.
pretty
You
epic.
are welcome.
I, I
Yeah.
mean I mean it was more it felt a little bit more memey, but like it was pretty cool, you know, pretty chill.
It was a bit light, but we talked
Yeah, it
about
was a
some
bit
good
light.
stuff.
Yee
Oh,
yee yee.
to recap though,
Yeah,
can I go
recap
over some
please.
statistics quickly?
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, go over
So
some
just to recap,
statistics.
to put that 13%, 50% into perspective, yeah, that 45.8% of young black children live in poverty
Mm,
compared to 14.5% of white children.
hmm
Shows kind of, yeah, you can see why African Americans might be, it seems like they're stealing in proportionally larger
hmm
percentages, I guess. So, okay, yeah, Gucci.
Very Gucci. Jesse, do you want to do the outro now?
Okay, sure. But, thanks guys for listening into Redmond Radio. We're Gabe and Jesse. Would like to see you next time.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna send Gabe's a couple articles to put into the what's that thing called? Into the description. Yes, that. I'm gonna send a
Yeah.
couple articles to put in the description for people who want to see some more stuff and read about it. It'll give more
hmm
insight on defunding the police and Black African
Yeah,
American
yeah.
culture and whatnot. But yeah,
hmm And I
yeah,
guess I'll try to do stuff about jazz and music, I guess, because I mean, it pretty much all the music I listen to has been African American, uh, influenced by African Americans, I guess. So I'll be glad
yeah,
to add a bunch of links into the description box and stuff. Yee 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 yee.
yeah.
Okay, thank you, Jesse. Have a very nice Redmond day.
You too, Redmond, sir. Hope you
Yeah, good,
Redmond,
good.
Redmond, Say Redmond.